Broadcasting live from the offices of policebackground.net. This is the Police Applicant Podcast with your host, Ken Roybal.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Police Applicant Podcast. This is episode 74, and a big welcome to my co-host, Donovan Heavener. Donovan, what's up?
Just living the dream down in California right now in the,
the dream.
Some degree weather.
The dream, the 109 degree weather in California. I do not miss that at all, and that's pretty cool. We're going to get through some. Announcements here real quick. I want to mention that for our listeners, I don't know if you know it or not, on Spotify you can go to comments and make comments about the episodes, and we did get an episode comment, Donovan, on the police officer episode 69, and Stacy from Oregon says, and I quote her, she says, "A lot of F-bombs on this episode." And Stacy, we agree with you. we normally do not have to tell our guests not to use not to have foul language, potty mouths, but there was a big stream of continuous F-bombs, and then when it came to editing, it was just too much at that moment, and I was unable to edit it out without editing about 5-10 minutes of episode out. So we get it, and now we let our guests usually know that that's generally not how we roll with our podcast with a bunch of language like that. So thank you, Stacy, for letting us know. And also, I want to get into a little bit of some of the stuffs we going on. And Donovan, we are officially 150,000 downloads on our podcast.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we have 21 subscribers, which is really cool. We launched about 2 months ago or something like that. So, but aside from that, we do have an announcement. Donovan's in California, and so something's going on there.
Yeah, since I'm down in California for a while, on September 16th, me and Minerva are going to be holding a meet and greet where listeners in the LA area, I know there's a couple other counties, and Ken will correct me because I am just not from down here, but it'll be September 16th from 1 to 3. The location will be in San Dimas at a local pizza establishment, probably. We do need you to go ahead and RSVP to Minerva at policebackground.net. Send her an email if you are interested in going, and please have that to her by, I believe we said September 9th. Is that correct, Ken?
I have no clue, but I
think it's September 9th. That gives us gives us a week to get things finalized. So please, I'd love to meet all the folks down here in California to get to meet you. You'll have a chance to ask us questions regarding backgrounds, hiring, all that kind of stuff. I'm currently in the polygraph examiner school, so if you have questions on polygraph and all that, I will be that will be my weekend before my last week in class for the basic course. I'll be a week away from graduation, so I'll be more than happy to talk about polygraphs and how my mind has been changed about them.
Yeah, we're going to get you on that. So for you guys that are in Los Angeles, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Orange counties, Donovan and Minerva will be hosting this big meet and greet, and you need to RSVP in order for them to know how many people are going. There are limited seats available, if I'm not mistaken. So get your RSVP and email Minerva at minerva@policebackground.net to get in on that. That's always fun to do that. And with that, let's get to the podcast. We're excited that Diane is here and spearheading this podcast. I am carrying Donovan's water today, so I have no purpose other than to sit here and listen to the voice, the angelic voice of Donovan Heavener leading this podcast. So Donovan, it's yours. Tell us about what we're doing.
Well, thank you. So we have Diane Huang with us today. And she is a young lady who I got to know very well over the past couple years. Unfortunately, for one part of it, I got to know her for an unfortunate incident. But she really came to light at a low point in law enforcement when George Floyd was going on, COVID was going on, and everything. And she has done some great work in the state of Washington, and she's now branched out further. So I want to go ahead and introduce Diane with Blue Hero Project. And what I'd like first, Diane, is can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your connection is with law enforcement?
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just to share. So thank you so much. But yeah, my name is Diane, and I was born and raised in Washington. So actually grew up right outside of Seattle, have lived here my whole life, and went to college here. And I'm pretty much like 10, 15 minutes away from my hometown. So have lived my whole life here. And I am married to a law enforcement officer, and we actually got married before he was in law enforcement. So when I met him, he had a background in ministry as a youth pastor, worship pastor, actually down in the LA area. And when we met, he moved up here, and we kind of assumed that he would step into ministry, and it just never happened. And he had actually applied to LAPD when he was 18. So fast forward, he was 37 at the time that we started exploring law enforcement. So it was one of those things he had interest in, obviously, or not 18, sorry, 21. Mm-hmm. And he had interest in law enforcement. And then fast forward to he was 38 when he got hired by our city agency here. And he's been in law enforcement for about 5 years. So we still consider ourselves fairly new in the law enforcement community up here. But yeah, 5 years in, and we have 2 kids who are 6 and 5. So they keep us busy as well. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about us.
Well, and you say you're kind of new in law enforcement. I'll say you guys made a big splash into law enforcement, you know, once getting into it. So tell us a little bit about the Blue Hero Project, how it began, and what your initial vision of it was.
Yeah. So it actually, I love telling this story because we did not have any plan or dream of running a nonprofit organization. Blue Hero Project really started as a one-time community project. That's kind of what we were, both my husband and I were like, this is a one-time thing. We're going to do this community project. And it actually started with a fellow law enforcement wife. Her name's Taylor, and her husband works for Tacoma. And she decided to raise money to bring snacks and drinks to law enforcement agencies in her area. And she posted about it on social media. And one of the things she said was, you can either donate, or if you want to do something like this in your area, like, go for it. So I remember sitting there, I'm like, I think I can do this. I think I can do a little social media post and ask if people want to donate money to buy snacks and drinks. And really my plan was to hopefully raise enough money to bring enough snacks and drinks to one Seattle PD precinct. That was kind of my goal. And even with that, looking back, so it was 2021, 2020 was obviously a really hard year. And going into 2021, I honestly didn't know if anyone was going to donate. I knew that my family and my friends, like close friends, would probably donate, but I just wasn't sure what kind of donations we'd get. So I remember telling my husband, I was like, okay, if no one donates, then we got this covered. Like, we'll pull money together. We'll ask my parents, my siblings. And so I posted and kind of hoped for the best. And we had, I believe in the first week, we had a little over $3,000 that came in.
Yep.
So we were blown away. And at that point, we're like, okay, you know, we'll do all the Seattle precincts and some other agencies with that money. But as time went on, the money continued to come in. which was, I think for us, just even as a law enforcement family, was very encouraging, because a lot of the money was coming in from just people in the community. Some people I didn't really know that well that just wanted to show support. So even for us personally, it was just very, very encouraging coming out of the season that we had come out of. So yeah, at one point, I was actually talking to a friend after we visited Seattle, and I was like, I just don't want this to end. Like, I just love it. So I had this one-time project, and I just really didn't want it to end. And she said, well, you could make it a nonprofit. And it's like the thought hadn't even crossed my mind. And I think I just needed her nudge. So that kind of started the conversation with my husband and I. And from that point, we really gave it a name, registered with the state of Washington. And then last year, we received our 501c3 status, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of started off with like department drop-offs of goodies. But as time went on, we really even changed the language there to department visits, because we wanted it to be so much more than just dropping something off, but really have just a passion and a desire to visit and connect with and show support and encouragement to agencies and to the officers and staff working at agencies. So yeah, that's how we primarily serve. We also, and this is how I connected with Donovan, if there has been an incident, an injury, or even just maybe an officer involved shooting, tough call. And if we have a relationship with that agency and it feels appropriate, then we are able to pull together money for DoorDash gift cards. And so for us, that's just a very simple, tangible way when officers are either injured or go through difficult calls, for us to be able to tangibly let them know that we are thinking of them and praying for them, and just that we see them and what they are walking through. So that's been another way that we've been able to serve. And then we recently started hosting law enforcement family days, and this has been a lot of fun. So we host those with Seattle PD's Mounted Patrol Unit. So they have a barn and horses, and they have been amazing. They really just create a space for law enforcement officers and their families to be able to come into a private space. It's, key card access only into the barn facility. So it's private, and, officers' kids and grandkids or nieces and nephews can come hang out with the horses. So yeah, it's just, those are kind of the three core ways that we serve.
So, and everyone listening, I mean, when you hear Diane talk about it, you can hear her passion, but if you can see her, you can see the emotion, you can see the passion that she has for this. And whenever I have seen Diane, she has a smile on her face. It could probably be the worst day. I saw her one day at an event, and she said, oh, the kids are tired. They're grumpy. They're in the car, and her husband was there letting them sleep. You could tell she was just exhausted. That smile never went away. That means a lot.
there's a couple of wives groups that follow me on Instagram. We follow each other. One is a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Wives, LASD wives, and the other one is LAPD wives. And both of them did these, what you're talking about, the projects that you're doing. And what I remember specifically from that is the amount of work and volunteers that it took to put those. You just don't, I mean, there's hundreds of these goodie baskets or bags, but the amount of work was intense.
But when it comes to Diane, though, I know her two top volunteers are for her organization. Who are those two top volunteers?
Our two kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, again, she shows so much joy. But when you see pictures of her kids at the drop-offs and at the family events and everything, the smile on their faces is incredible. I mean, she posts pictures of them going to Costco. Most kids would be like, oh. it's like the best day of their life, isn't it? I mean, when you post the pictures, there could be pictures you don't post, but a lot of times, I mean, it looks like they're having the best time of their life going to Costco.
Yeah, they do love going to Costco. And I would say they probably go and shop with me. Today we shopped. Tomorrow we're actually going to Tacoma PD. Okay. And so we shopped today for that. And they're super excited. And they probably shop for like 90% of the visits with me. So when I do get a chance to go just me, it really is very peaceful and very quiet.
Right.
Because again, they're 6 and 5. So
Yep.
It's you know, just as a side note, I think one of the greatest things out of this, just for me personally, has been to involve our kids. And I think a lot of times maybe we don't involve our kids because it's inconvenient. Everything kind of takes a little bit longer, whether it's shopping or even going to an agency. It can be just a little more difficult with 2 kids in tow. Right. But it has so been worth it. And I think it's, I hope that it's just taught them so much about looking for opportunities to serve others and to encourage others and to thank others. Even for them shopping at Costco, to know, like, we're shopping for the officers today. We're not like today it was the Halloween costumes. They wanted the Halloween costumes. But just like, you know, we're here to shop for other people, and we're here to support other people. And I think it's just been such a great experience, not always convenient, and it's often hard, but such a great experience to involve the younger generation and stuff like this. So,
and you've shown that this is a truly a family project for you guys, but it's not just your family. How many volunteers do you have right now that are helping you out at Blue Hero?
So we have our board who serves on our board, and it's a very active board, and that's 5 of us. So we have the core 5, and then we usually have other law enforcement wives that will help, whether with the visits themselves or join for shopping, but usually for the visits, like tomorrow, one of the Tacoma wives is joining us for the visit. So trying to incorporate ways for other law enforcement wives or spouses. We've even had some law enforcement moms that have shown interest in serving and helping in going to the agencies. So it's been a lot.
You guys just did a new type of event over the past couple of days, right?
Yes.
You want to talk about that? Because I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. So we hosted a barbecue at Seattle PD's, one of their precincts, their West Precinct. And we've always, and maybe I didn't make this totally clear in my introduction, but we usually bring a wagon of snacks and drinks, and it's all kind of grab and go shelf stable type items that officers can just grab and put in their patrol bag or bring back to their desk. So, but we were visiting this specific precinct last February, and one of the lieutenants, when we were looking out, they have a beautiful courtyard, by the way. And he was like, oh, it'd be great to have you back in the summer and we could barbecue. And so I just kind of tucked that away and reached out, you know, once we approached summer. And we set it up, and their station master, a quartermaster, station master, he's their station master, was just phenomenal. And so we got there for their first and second watch and grilled burgers and had chips and drinks and ice cream bars.
Wow.
And then the really cool part is we were able to come back for their third watch, so their night shift, and barbecue for them and just let them know that we appreciate them. Because usually when we do visits, not all the time, but most of the time, it's usually in the daytime. So it was really nice to be able to be there in person, face to face with the night shift crew, just to be able to thank them for everything they do. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I have to say I was really nervous because I felt kind of out of my element. It was outside of my normal snacks and drinks. You know, actually providing like food and prepping food and all of that. But it was so much fun, and I just loved, you know, I think there's something about sitting around a table and eating that allows you to really connect with people. So it was just a great opportunity to even just get to know some of their officers. And again, their station master, Rick, is like, he is phenomenal. So just even to get to know him more and the role that he plays in serving and supporting all the officers out of Seattle. So. Right.
Yeah, I saw that event. I thought that's awesome. That's awesome. It's good to see you doing that. So I know a while back, I can't remember how many months back, but you hit the 100 agency mark.
Yes. Yeah. 100 visits.
Wow.
Yep. So where are we at today?
Okay. So we are at 115 visits. I was like going through my list, checking that off. So we hit that in May. So we've done 15 visits between now and May. And so that's actually been 50 agencies and then 115 visits. So
that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's, I honestly, it still blows me away because I was just hoping to raise money for one precinct when this started. But I think it really speaks to the incredible community of donors and supporters. I will never have words to express how grateful I am for all the people that support us and donate. And I mean, to make 115 visits happen requires a lot of money. And just to know that even for us, it's a lot as far as people that donate. It's a lot of like single family, law enforcement family here, some businesses and churches, but a lot of times their donations $100 or less. So it's a lot of people that support, and all those contributions add up.
That's awesome.
So, so 115 visits. So 50 agencies. So we try and do revisits. It's hard. Obviously, we want to reach all the agencies, and I wish that we had unlimited resources. And it's that balance of wanting to reach all the agencies, but also wanting to be able to build relationships with the agencies. And so it's a really hard dance sometimes in wanting to make sure that we can revisit and that we can build a relationship. And in the, you know, if something does happen, to know that we can be there to show support if needed. And it's an honor to be able to do what we do.
You know, really quickly, you know, when this interview first came up, Donovan had gotten a hold of me. And, you know, every once in a while, when you talk to somebody on the phone, you can hear the emotion, the connection to what they're talking about. And when he called me, he said to me that Diane and the Blue Hero Project was there when he needed you guys most. And Donovan, I felt the immediate connection in that phone call that you when you called me, and I said, we got to get Diane on the podcast. I just want to go over, if you could go over how that connection started. You got involved in a shooting.
You want to take that, Diane? Because I think it was more you and my wife that actually connected first. Is that correct?
Well, actually, so the week your shooting happened on...
You were there the Friday before my shooting.
Yes. So we were at his agency doing a first-time visit the week of before.
I did not hear that. I don't remember that. So we had just been there, and we brought goodies, and we're thanking the officers, and we didn't meet. So I never met Donovan during that visit. But then the day of the shooting, I saw the headlines and saw that it was a Federal Way officer. And so that's when I reached out actually to the officer that had coordinated our visit
and said, hey, is there anything we can do? Can we pull together some money for like DoorDash gift cards? And she said, yes, you could bring them by your guys' department. And so we pulled together money and purchased some gift cards and a card and dropped it off at the department. So we had no relationship with Donovan and Tina at that time, but had just been at the agency earlier that week. So the timing was I don't want to say the timing was good.
It was weird. It was weird timing.
Yeah, weird timing is a thank you. Weird timing is a better way to put it. Yeah, so just knowing that we were just there, and we just wanted to be able to do something again, just to very simply and tangibly show support to the Hefner family. And it seems like most stuff Blue Hero related is food related. So for us, it just comes through with meals. So,
and Donovan, this is going to be on YouTube, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Can you kind of go over what happened with you?
Yeah. So it was October 31st, 2021. Early in the morning, I had gotten up about 5:30 in the morning to go for a run. And I was out running, didn't think I was going to go to one area of the city that I run in, and needed some extra miles. So I ran down to this one section. It's a busier area of businesses, car dealerships. And I actually ran, as I'm running, I stumbled upon a attempted burglary in progress. There were a couple of guys who were tying straps up to a couple doors on a implement dealership, and they had their trucks right there. They were going to pull the doors off the front of the store. So I just stopped, thought I was going to try to hide behind a telephone pole, call the police. Well, while I was trying to call the police, they actually saw me in my really bright running clothes. So I wasn't hiding very well. They saw me, they took the straps off, hopped in the truck. And as one was leaving the parking lot, they drove in front of me and actually shot me while I was on the phone with 911.
And
so
that,
yeah, I was going to say, you're bringing it up, huh?
There it is right there. When I first met Donovan, he called me and he said, hey, I follow you on the podcast. And I said, you need to be on our podcast. And then Diane, as soon as I started talking with Donovan, I said, this guy is solid, man. We need to make him part of the podcast. So that's how he ended up on the podcast with us. So,
yeah. So, awesome. And what's great about Diane is, and I'm going to try to keep my emotions under control. That reaching out was so meaningful at the time, because you do feel lonely at that point, and that someone took the time to put that together and think about us, that we'd need meals and that kind of stuff. That was great. But where it really came into full circle is, and I think it was at your year anniversary. I think you and Tina had been having conversations over social media or whatever. But you were having that 1 year anniversary celebration. And I know you're right on the edge with me, Diane. When we first saw each other, and even Tina, there were a lot of tears, there were a lot of hugs. And I don't think Diane knew at that point where I was in my life, and I was at probably the lowest point in my life. And she made some introductions that really helped me out. And that's what's great about Diane, is she has those connections. She goes out, she helps officers, and she does it with her heart. Sorry for getting emotional, Diane. But that's really what it's all about. And that's what you really encompass here. And I think that's what's important for our listeners, those that are in law enforcement and have been around for a while, and still listen to the podcast, even though this is a recruiting podcast and a background podcast. But for those getting into law enforcement, they need to know that there are groups out there like you, who do care about police, who are going to have our backs. I mean, when you started out, I think it was the most negative time in law enforcement for us. And we went through some really dark times. Ken's been through some really dark times in his career as well. I don't remember a time that was that low in law enforcement countrywide in my career. So to have a group like you that's out there looking out for the officers means everything. And what you did for me at the time, and I know Jessica, I think, was the one who contacted you from our agency. There is not enough thank yous. There's not enough anything for you, Diane, and the Blue Hero Project for what you do.
That's awesome.
Didn't mean to make it so emotional.
No.
Well,
It is.
no, it's, I think that we have just absolutely fallen in love with so many people, including you and Tina. And our love for the law enforcement community has just like, it was there and then it just like ballooned. Because when you get to know people and you meet people and you're having conversations with people, it's just an amazing community. And there's so many officers like yourself and spouses, families that are just truly incredible. And I just wish that our world, and our city could see just how amazing the men and women serving our communities are. And that's you, Donovan. Like we always want our serving to be about the people and not about the organization or the programs. And all the programs and stuff are great, but it's always about people. And so I think being able to have you join us at our 1-year celebration and being able to meet you after praying for you for months was just such, like, it just blessed me. So, yeah.
So I think where Ken was going is he wanted to find out, what kind of reactions you get from officers. But what I want to do is, before we get into that, I'm going to ask Ken if we can go to our commercial, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Hey guys, this is Steve Gould, host of the Things Police See podcast. I want to let you know the Police Applicant podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, is now offering additional members-only content for only $4.99 per month. The new subscribers-only content will feature additional episodes hosted by Ken, Donovan, and Minerva, early access to podcast episodes, special members-only YouTube content, and private meet and greets with the hosts and other fans. The podcast episode will still be free every 2 weeks, but can you believe all this extra content for only $4.99 per month? The perks are fantastic, and you'll also be supporting the valuable work our hosts provide to you. Let's face it, guys, we need people to become cops. We need these guys to guide them through it, to motivate them, to inspire them to do so. You can also support the podcast with one-time and monthly donations. The links for subscribing and donations are in the show notes in the podcast page at policebackground.net. Also, if you're interested in a podcast that concentrates on police war stories and what the men and women of law enforcement face on a day-to-day basis, please check out the Things Police See podcast on all podcast platforms or go to thingspolicesee.com.
Oh, it's a great Steve Gould from the Things Police See podcast. Good friend of the podcast.
Yes.
We used to work backgrounds together, but yeah.
All right. So we got to breathe a little bit now. So, all right, Diane, what kind of reactions do you get from officers when you show up?
I say it's a mix.
Okay.
When we first show up. If I kind of look back on when we first started, so 2021, at that point, we probably didn't know, it was a new project. A lot of people weren't familiar. And I think coming out of a season when officers were really couldn't trust anyone. So I think there was a bit of that. initially, especially going into Seattle PD. You know, they had it really rough. Same down in Portland Police Bureau. And really like, who is this coming in and why are they doing this? You know, that sort of, I think, thought initially, but being a law enforcement family and often having my husband with us for the visits, as soon as we shared, oh, we're a local law enforcement family as well, there was some trust that was built in with that. And it was kind of like, oh, okay. And I love it when my husband is with us for the visits. Some of the time he's working, so we can't come, because there's just something about him being an officer himself and being able to connect and engage with other officers, which just brings a great amount of trust from the get-go. But all that being said, it's a mix of so much appreciation and just gratitude a lot of times that we would take the time to come and bring them goodies. And I think sometimes a little bit of like, well, who are you? So it's usually a mix of that. And I will say it's usually the newer officers are like super pumped and excited that we're there. And sometimes the officers that have been around for a long time, they're like, why are you bringing goodies into our department? But I would say overall, and now that it's been 2 years, it's been really fun to do revisits. And I think even for Seattle, so for Seattle PD, we've actually decided to visit something Seattle PD related every single month. Okay. So they have 5 precincts and then they have a bunch of different units. So we hit something Seattle PD related every month. And I think just the consistency there has been a great way to just let them know that we're here to show them support, and we're not about one-time support. We love to show continued support. And I think that has made us maybe more welcome into some of these officers' lives and their precincts. And so it definitely helps, like coming out of 2020, it helps that our board actually, so everyone on our board is either an officer or an officer spouse. Okay. So even having that, you know, we're part of the family in a sense. Right. So
right. So what is the number one snack that you bring? I already have in mind. I know what it is. I think I know what it is. I know what mine is.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at a box of snacks that we have set out right now. There's 3 that come to mind. Well, 4.
The one I'm thinking about, you can't get at Costco.
You can't get at Costco. Okay, what is it?
The cookies.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm so glad you mentioned the cookies.
How could I not mention the cookies?
Well, cookies. Okay, Ken, I do not know if you have heard of these cookies before.
Oh.
No.
So there is an incredible, and I love this story. That is so funny because I was looking at my box of snacks over there, and the cookies are in the fridge.
All right.
So there is actually a King County wife. Her husband is a King County deputy, and we visited her husband's precinct. And after the visit, she reached out. She was like, thank you so much for visiting my husband's precinct. You know, they loved all the goodies. She's like, I love baking cookies. I would love to make cookies for some of your visits. I was like, that would be amazing. So we connected. And honestly, I was kind of thinking like a container of chocolate chip cookies or something of the like. That's just what I had in mind. And so I remember we met in a Costco parking lot, and she walked up with these cookies and opened them, and they were like, they're sugar cookies with like thin blue line flag, our logo on them. I mean, just beautiful cookies.
Wow.
And so I was blown away. And she is amazing. So her name is Kim, and I have to do a little plug for her because she's just incredible. What's Her Buckets Cookies. She's based out of the Snohomish area. And I should actually calculate, I didn't calculate how many sets that she has done for us, but she donates her time and her resources to make these cookies for our visits. And so I have a set for Tacoma that we're going to take to them. And the cool thing that she recently started doing is she got an edible printer for cookies. So it like prints edible ink.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
On the cookies.
Yep.
And so she will do patches, like the police patches on a cookie. And it looks like just like the patch. So it's just a really, like, I just love her and her just heart to just thank officers with these cookies is just amazing. So yeah, so the cookies, and every time I think we have photos of me like opening up the box of cookies, and you have these officers that are just kind of like straight faced, and then they see the cookies and they're like, these are so cool. And they literally like pull out their cell phone. They're like snapping pictures of these cookies because it's their agency patch. She makes a bulletproof vest. She makes little hand clasps. I mean, it's all police related, and she's just amazing. So yes,
what's the
100% the cookies.
What's her company again?
What's Her Buckets Cookies.
What's Her Buckets Cookies. Okay. Yes. I'll put that in the show notes then.
Yes, please do. She's on Instagram and all her contact information's there. And she started, before I met her, she didn't have a business. She was just doing it. She actually kind of found cookie decorating and stuff through 2020. They moved here from Florida during 2020. He was a deputy in Florida, moved to Seattle 2020. And for her, it was, obviously a hard season, and she found just refreshment and making cookies. And when we met, she didn't have a business yet. And so for her, it's, family owned, family run, and law enforcement family, obviously. So she's great.
Awesome.
Ken, I'm telling you, I could eat every cookie that Diane would bring to a visit because I can't stop on those. They look really good, but they taste even better.
They taste even better.
That's awesome. It's amazing that she's able to do that. That's pretty great.
Oh yeah. And she's actually on vacation now. So she made me a set for Tacoma, and then she made a set for Seattle PD SWAT, and she's like, stick them in the freezer, pull them out morning of, and they'll be perfect. So
that's awesome.
She even planned ahead for her time being gone, which was so sweet.
Cool.
So Ken, when I say that Diane has the connections, she's got the connections.
I'll have to try one of these cookies one time.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, you have to.
Yes.
I'll buy some, Ken, and
I'll buy some for you, Ken.
So, Diane, I got to ask you, what do you guys do as a family just to relax? Because this goes on all the time for you, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like it's nonstop for you. So you got to do something to relax, don't you?
Yes. We, I'm thinking about this. We live in a really sweet neighborhood. It's a very unique community in that it's owned by a ministry. The homes were built for foster families. Okay. So everyone knows each other. It's about 23 homes. And so I would say a lot of times we're just going outside to our neighborhood to hang out with our neighbors.
Okay.
And let the kids play. So the kids are playing, and we all it's really nice to have built-in community with people that just love us and love our kids. And so I think that speaks to even just, we just like spending time with family and friends. A lot of times my parents live over in Cle Elum, so we'll head over the mountains and spend time at the mountain lakes or out on the river. But one thing that I will say, my husband, Davin, and I both started doing this year because life was just getting really full and not stressful, stressful in a way. But he now has a new routine of working out at the PD right after shift. And so for him, that's been such a great release before he comes home to kids and a, lively house and needs and all the things. But then I started going to the gym when he gets home from work. And so that's kind of our routine on his work days. He'll work out after shift. And then when he gets home, we switch and I go to the gym. And I think it's honestly it's done more for us than I thought it would. Just having that, I know that's not time together, but having that time, whether it's an hour, 45 minutes, hour and a half to move our bodies and work out and exercise has been really, really good for us. Right. And I think it's allowed us to really enjoy our time together much better because we've both gotten that time. Right. So
well, good.
You mentioned that your husband grew up in LA?
Yes.
What area of LA?
So like West Covina, Diamond Bar.
Oh.
He lived in Fontana at one point. He had started a college ministry at UC Irvine at one point. Okay. So
cool.
But yeah. So well, that's where he was living when we met.
Cool. Okay. I'm glad he applied for LAPD, but I'm glad he's in Washington.
Yes. It didn't work out for him then. But he loves
But in reality, it did work out for him.
Oh, it 100% did. And I think even his years of ministry experience and being a youth pastor, and I think just a lot of life experience, I think taking that with him, then going into law enforcement at 38, I think it started him off well in law enforcement, coming in with that background. So,
right. So, I was hinting on what you do to get away from it, because there was a couple weeks ago, I think it was maybe a little bit longer than that, you posted on Instagram that you were going down for a little vacation in Oregon.
Yes.
Yeah, and so what did you do when you went down to Oregon?
Oh, what did I do?
This is Diane. This is how Diane works.
Now I see what you're getting at. Okay, I missed the hint. I went into
you're fine.
Hangout and the gym.
No, you're fine. So I wanted to know how you relax.
So we love the Oregon coast. It's actually really neat. My parents started going to the Oregon coast like in high school. They're high school sweethearts. They go every single year and have ever since they've been together. So it's really just a special place for us. So we go to the Cannon Beach seaside area every summer. And then my husband and I actually just started going for our anniversary, which is we usually go like January, February as well. So we usually go twice a year. And we did a visit to a couple of agencies down there. I can't help it. So we did on our anniversary trip. We actually did. Well, yeah. I should back up. So one of our anniversary trips down to Cannon Beach area, I was like, hey babe, Portland is not that far from Cannon Beach. And I think maybe we can visit Portland Police Bureau on our way down to Cannon Beach, which makes a 3-hour trip like a 4.5 hour trip. So it's not really on the way, but it kind of is. And being the amazing husband he is, he's like, okay, let's do it. So the first year we visited actually all 3 of the Portland Police Bureau precincts. And then we drove straight to the beach for our anniversary. So that was just a fun little pit stop on the way to Cannon Beach. But then the last 2 years, this last year and the year before, we visited Seaside and Cannon Beach PD, and have loved visiting down there. So when we go down January, February-ish, we'll do an official visit with our wagon of goodies and drinks. And but this last summer, we actually went down twice And one time we brought some coffee from an awesome local company, Boaz Coffee Company. He actually makes a blend of coffee, and for every bag purchase, he donates back to our organization, which is awesome.
Oh, cool.
The Blue Hero blend. So we brought some coffee down to them, and then we went down a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, Kim's cookies. So I had her put together some amazing cookies for them with their patch and stuff like that while we were down there on vacation. But
yeah,
I was like, we cannot be there and not do something. You know?
Very relaxing,
right?
Sounds very
right.
relaxing.
Yeah, it's always go with Diane. She's always got something going on, which is great. But the other thing we want to talk about is you have those Bibles for the law enforcement outreach kits.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Yes. So these are the kits, and we do not make these, but we purchase them. They're really great, and I think the thin blue line flag, the lighting, it looks really great. So there is an officer and a chaplain based out of Massachusetts, and his name is David. And he started this organization, Bibles for LEO. And he puts together these boxes. And this one's like the outreach kit. So it has a compact size Bible in it. And then it comes with like scripture cards, which the lighting, you can't really see it super well. Some stickers, the Bible's in it, a really awesome law enforcement prayer card. He has really great challenge, challenge coin.
Neat.
So he created this, and again, he's an officer himself, and he's a chaplain based out of Massachusetts. And we have some families and specifically some churches that donate to us specifically so that we can purchase these. And then when we visit agencies, we bring a handful of them with us anytime we go, and we leave them for any of the officers who might want to pick one up and bring one home with them. So for us, it's the partnership with him, with David at Bibles for LEO has just been great. And they're just so well put together. And I think the thin blue line flag on the back of it is just like, a lot of people are like, what is this? And you're like, oh, it's a law enforcement Bible. They're like, wow, that's cool. So yeah, we're just so grateful to have had so many churches specifically and some individuals donate so that we can purchase those. Because he does sell them on his website. Someone could go on his website and buy them. But we just like being able to bring them with us when we do a visit. And he's just been a great person and a great organization, based out of the East Coast that's serving the law enforcement community as well. So
I'm familiar with Bibles for Leo because I follow them on Instagram. But the reason I got familiar with them because a buddy of mine, Nick Wilson, who runs the Resiliency Project, he partners with them as well. And by the way, Nick Wilson is running for California State Assembly. And so we're going to be promoting that on my Instagram too. But we need people like him.
I actually had the opportunity to meet Nick. He came and hosted a resiliency training seminar for some law enforcement agencies here. And we had connected on social, and I said, well, hey, we could bring some snacks and drinks for your training. And so that's how we met him and his wife. And they're just great.
Where did you meet him?
So it was kind of in the Port Orchard area.
I was there.
You were?
I was there the first day, I think.
Okay, and I think we were there the second day.
Oh my gosh. I spoke, he had me get up and speak about PTSD. And that was, I can't believe I missed you.
Yes. So, oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, that was the first time I met him. And he was wonderful. And we brought our wagon of snacks and drinks for all the, officers and staff who were there. And it's a great training.
I should have gone the second day. Doggone it.
Yeah, that should have, Ken.
Could have met. Yeah, the kids were with me. We made the drive and then kind of made a fun day out of it and checked out some parks and took a ferry home. But
yeah,
Nick's a great guy.
He's amazing. He's amazing. The thing about this is that your organization, the Blue Hero Project, Bibles for Leo, and police officer mental health awareness, it's all a full circle. You know, because Donovan's a testimony to that. You're a vital part with the spiritual battle, the Blue Hero for the support, and then the mental health awareness for people like Donovan. That's super important.
Well, and I think what's incredible with this whole thing is the connections. Again, I go back to the connections Diane made, and she is a resource that I think is invaluable in our business. But the differing things that she gets involved in with groups of just saying, hey, I can bring snacks and drinks. And she says, I can bring snacks and drinks. Like, it's no big deal. And it's a huge deal. What other organizations right now are you partnering with? Not so much as like, you know, getting funding or whatever, but you're just helping them run along however you can.
Yeah. So there's actually a couple. So we are LASD Wives in California. Love cheering them on and all the work that they do in San Diego. And same with Blue Light Cause. Blue Light Cause is another one that's based out of kind of the LA area. And she has been amazing. She'll call me and just be like, I'm praying for your organization and praying for you as you serve. And there's also Thank You Arizona Blue. Kimberly runs that out of Arizona. Locally, there obviously there's Behind the Badge. They're a massive nonprofit and serve in such an incredible way. So we love being able to point people to their resources. There's also Stronger Families. Stronger Families is based in this area, and they host a lot of first responder retreats, marriage retreats, and they do incredible work here. There's an organization called Back the Blue Snohomish County, run by Kelly. She's in Snohomish. She does stuff very similar to us, and really serves the law enforcement in Snohomish County specifically. I know I'm forgetting amazing people, but there's so many amazing people. And I think Seattle Police Foundation is one that I've absolutely loved connecting with, and just their heart to really serve and care for the Seattle officers is really just been beautiful to watch. But I just think one thing I learned going into this is there's a lot of amazing people doing really amazing things. And I think you can choose like one of two positions, and one is like, oh, they're kind of like competition and I want to be better than them, or taking a position of really like, how can I cheer these people on? How can I support the work that they're doing and really be able to lift them up in the work that they're doing? And I just think there's just so much joy that has come out of coming alongside other organizations and supporting them. And it's just been such a gift to be able to get to know so many great people that are doing amazing things. And all the organizations work together, and there's great collaboration, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I mean, the things that you do and the people you bring together is awesome. Is there anyone, I mean, you listed these organizations, all right, that you work with. Are there any people that you want to just give a shout out to that we're close to, or are there just too many you can't even do it?
Gosh.
And you can just say it's too many.
There's probably too many. There's probably too many.
Yeah.
There's probably too many. But it's a really great mix of law enforcement wives, spouses, but specifically a lot of wives that have really supported us, and just very like organically. A lot of the ways maybe we've like grown has been more word of mouth and social media. So a lot of wives and gosh, just a lot of officers even that have just really, I think of like Officer Craig Hanaumi from Bellevue, who really like stepped out to kind of support us and kind of point to us before we really, when we were just starting, and had really taken time to get to know us as a family and get to know the kids. And yeah, there's just so many, but I will say, we've had hundreds of people that have donated, but I think there's also been hundreds of people that have shared the website with people or shared a social media post. And I love being able to go into agencies and be there to represent all the people that have supported us. And I love being able to share that and say, I have the amazing job of being here to thank you, but please, please know that there are hundreds of people that have supported us and donated, and they truly make all of it possible. So, yeah, there's, I will say, and I know we already touched on it, but What's Our Buckets Cookies and Ben with Boaz Coffee are two local, just local companies that have really set out to support us, and not just us, but the law enforcement community as a whole. And I have to give a shout out to my husband, because if I'm going to give a shout out to anyone, he has been, he always jokes that he does nothing. He's like, she does it all, I do nothing. But he does so much. And I even think of hours and hours, especially in the early days of me just processing and like, what do you think about this? And should the name be this? And should we serve this way? Or what do you think my Costco shopping list should be? And just the hours that he has spent, I think, just listening and then encouraging. And he really just brings such a strength and a steadiness to the work that we do, along with, so I will shout out to our board. So we have Rachel, and we have Cami, and we have Cameron, and then myself and my husband. And those three have just, Cameron, Cami, and Rachel have contributed in so many ways. And whether it's planning visits or Cameron's our finance guy. So he looks over all our financials and donations and money going out. So much stuff that is so important. That's much more behind the scenes. So, and Cami and Rachel, you'll see them in a lot of photos. They do a lot of visits. And do a lot of, I run a lot of things by them. What do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? But yeah, it takes a village. And I'm just so, so grateful for all the people that rally to make this happen every month. So
That's cool.
Well, and talking about making it happen, so your website is blueheroproject.org.
Yes.
So how can, if our listeners want to get involved and help you out in any way, what's the best way for them to do that?
So if they want to get involved, help out, maybe contribute with their time, or if they have a business or anything like that, they can always message us either on social media. So we are on Facebook, Instagram. Our website also has my email. It also has a contact me page, so they can fill that out, message. We're pretty responsive across the board, whether social media or website. And then donation wise, if someone wanted to donate, we do have a charity Venmo account set up. So that's Blue Hero Project on Venmo. And then We also have like a text to give set up through GiveButter. So if someone just texts Blue Give to 53555, then it takes you to a link where you can set up recurring donations if you want. And we also have an Amazon wish list. So for anyone who wants to be able to pick out items, I know some people like to see exactly where their money is going.
Cookies.
They can go on the Amazon. Yeah, cookies. I know we should set up just like a cookie fund.
Right?
Be really fun. But yeah, so we have the Amazon wish list for people who want to specifically pick out certain items, and all of that's on the website, social media as well.
Yep. Yeah. And I think we've done both ways, Venmo and Amazon. I know Tina likes to get on Amazon and kind of pick things out. Then she knows what's kind of going to the officers, which is good. But I encourage you guys, if you have the means, whatever it is, giving your time, if you can connect her with a business who might be able to help her, please do it. Because again, this is 100% from the heart. Diane gets nothing out of this except the joy and spreading happiness wherever she goes. And then seeing her husband just wrangling the kids along and giving her space so that she can shine. Which is
awesome.
Good. I mean, it is. The family dynamics when they walk in the room is just awesome. It really is. I appreciate you giving a shout out to your husband, because it is. I mean, he works hard with the police department. It's not easy to shift gears then and go from the police department to, all right, now I got to go visit police officers. Oh, geez, you know, that sometimes that's rough, you know. So hats off to him. And again, Diane, hats off to everything that you do. You're doing incredible work. So from all those active in law enforcement, retired in law enforcement, your support means everything. Has anyone reached out to you asking how to start something in their area, like what you're doing?
So I did have someone reach out, San Diego, who was like thinking of starting something. And I love that, because I think of even like Blue Hero. I'm like, this started because Taylor at Tacoma was doing a project and she set out to serve in this way, and she inspired me to serve in this way. And, but there's been even some, we had a gal reach out, and she lives on kind of the opposite side of the state. So not like an easy access for us. And their kind of city agencies just going through a tough time. And she was just reaching out saying, hey, can you pray for our city? And she's like, I'm thinking of maybe doing something. And I was like, well, maybe see if like others in your community want to, you know, pitch in and really help out your local department. And she did. And she messaged me back and showed me a picture. Like it's a small town. A bunch of people in their small town pulled together money to just bless their local agency. And I just love seeing that. And if anyone is curious or has questions, maybe you live somewhere else and you'd like to do this, I would be more than happy to jump on a phone call and just share what's worked for us and what it's been like for us. Because there's room for many, many, many people to be serving in similar ways. And I would love nothing more than to cheer on other people who want to serve in a similar way and be able to share what's worked for us and hasn't worked, and successes and failures. And, you know, it just takes people being willing to say yes and kind of step out and do it. So,
you know, I have to give a shout out to you and all the other Blue Line spouses, because, and I say, when I say wives, it's because the majority of officers are male, but back when my wife was a police wife, and police wives, man, I'm telling you, they are cut from a different cloth. They're tough cookies.
Yes, they are.
And there's a lot to being a police wife, but back when my wife was a police wife, and they had a wives organization, but it was very hush hush. It was very hush, word of mouth, only LAPD wives. You don't want people knowing and all that. And then after 2020 is when these LASD wives and LAPD wives came out, and all the goody bags and all that started coming out. And wives are now, hey, I'm a police wife. And, if you don't like that, here's the blue line flag, and now it's so much different when it's so easy. It's so much easier to be picked on in 2023 than it was, say, in 1980.
Right.
And for you guys to come out, the bravery that you show, because the things that we don't talk about, we talk about how awesome it is that the police wives and you guys go to these precincts and these stations, and you spread the joy and the love of law enforcement. But behind the scenes, there's these people that aren't kind. And that's something that it takes a lot you got to have a thick skin. And I think police wives are those people.
Right.
So my hat is off to you.
Yeah. Well, community, I will say, I think that's been the biggest gift that came out of 2020. Because I'm trying to think, my husband graduated the academy in 2019. So right before 2020. So I didn't really know too many other police wives, but I will say out of 2020, it was like we needed each other. And there was just this beautiful community that came out of such a difficult time. And it's been awesome. So
awesome.
Yep. Well, I got to say, Ken always says this, but this was a great episode. I mean, being able to spread your message to our listeners, I think, is fantastic. It's going to be, people around the country are going to be hearing about this. So hopefully there's going to be some interest in starting these up elsewhere, because what you're doing is great. You've got all the right intentions, and we can't thank you enough for taking the time to actually spend with us, just telling us about your organization. It's because I know you got a lot going on. So taking this, this time out is a lot for you. So we really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, very much. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to thank you guys. I remember when Ken reached out, or Ken called me about this. I'm like, why would you have us? I've listened to your episodes, and you've just so much amazing content, and that I think covers a wide array of different topics, and so many incredible, guests that you've had on your show. So I just feel absolutely honored that you guys would have me, and that you would take this time on an evening to talk through this. So
yeah, we're honored to have you on the show too, because this is something that's important. Like I say, along with officer mental health, and the support. I talk to officers every day, and if they're not getting beat up by by some of the organizations and citizens that they run into, they're getting beat up by their own departments. And to have somebody come in and show them just a little bit of support and love is super, super important. And that's what you guys provide. And I, for one, am very, very thankful that you are around, and thankful for Donovan, and that you guys, this is just too awesome, man. I don't know what else to say, but is this it? Is it the end of the episode, Donovan?
I think this is it. I mean, Diane's got to get back to her family.
All right. Well, we're going to close out. Thank you again, Diane. And we're going to be back in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for listening to the Police Applicant Podcast. We are the premier police background prep site in the U.S. and Canada. For more information on scheduling your police background consultation, go to policebackground.net. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes.